Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday on the NewsHour, we brought you the exit poll numbers. Pollsters across the board have given the BJP a majority in Uttar Pradesh. The margin of victory, of course, varied from poll to poll, but the verdict was clear and the direction was clear. The Saffron Party is set to script history on 10th of March by becoming the first party in decades to return to power in the Hindi heartland state. In fact, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are deep diving into the new M plus Y factor that is emerging in Uttar Pradesh. This MY factor is not the traditional Muslim Yadav math that the Samajwadi Party has been banking on for years. It is the Modi Yogi, and many people say Mahila and Yuva combined that seems to be working its magic for the BJP. Let's straight away get into the number game in Uttar Pradesh and the implication that it will have here. Let's take a look at these numbers. If you look at these numbers, these are the numbers in 2017. 39.7% was the voting percentage for the BJP. This time, the veto poll gives it 39.39, which means just about 0.4 percentage decline, which is literally the same as last time. And Samajwadi Party 21.8% last time. This time it goes up to about 35.3, but not being able to match this particular math of the BJP. On the other hand, BSP and Congress last time was at 28.5, this time at 21.14. Others 10% last time, this time 4.2%. And it is this magic number that the BJP has been banking upon. And I want to tell you that sometimes exit polls are known to have gone wrong. But the BJP's calculation is that if 20 plus percentage goes to BSP plus Congress and others, then the BJP will get majority. Just like last time, BSP and Congress had more than 38% along with others. This time, BSP, Congress and others, if they have more than 25%, the majority will work out for the BJP. And in the others, it is Owaisi's AIMIM which could have played the role. BSP plus Congress, 40% is BJP's 300 plus seats. And that is the math that the BJP has been working on in its backroom. Which is why, if you look at all the versions of which way these votes are going to go, how did the Muslims vote? Because Akhilesh Yadav and the Samajwadi Party would have looked at the Muslim Yadav combined. And it is the Muslim vote that Akhilesh Yadav would have had to look at. The BJP gets only 5.2% of the Muslim vote. The Samajwadi Party, 46.7%. Congress takes 18.4%, BSP 11.8%, others 17.9%, and this is where the Owaisi factor comes in. This is where the Muslim vote has got divided in 2022, and it is this 48% that has gone away from Samajwadi Party or Akhilesh Yadav's kitty into these three categories: the Congress, the BSP and the others. That could mean problem for the Akhilesh Yadav's Samajwadi Party. It is this split of the Muslim votes that could hurt Samajwadi Party and prevent Akhilesh Yadav from crossing the halfway mark. That is the big breaking news. And also the fact in rural areas, it is the BJP that actually reverses its earlier trend. In rural areas, BJP gets now more votes. In urban areas, slightly less, where Akhilesh Yadav goes ahead, which means the BJP in the run-up to 2024 will have to worry about issues like, and that's the rural vote, 41.5% compared to the 39.5% that they have overall. In rural areas, they have a higher vote share. Samajwadi Party goes lower, so their schemes Garib Kalyan Yojana, Kisan Samman Nidhi and all those schemes of the BJP working in rural areas. And if you look at the urban vote, it's very clearly it's the urban vote where the BJP is falling behind. But we're getting breaking news coming in from Varanasi. We are at the countdown of the run-up to the poll results day, and less than 48 hours to go. But some would say the Samajwadi party is already conceding defeat. Akhilesh Yadav just a short while ago held a news conference saying that there were problems in the EVM even before the first vote was counted. And now in Varanasi itself, those are the scenes that are coming in, and in those scenes big protests going on in Varanasi. My colleague Ashutosh joins me from ground zero, where outside a strong room where EVMs are stored, the Samajwadi party, Congress workers are all protesting, asking for answers from the district magistrate and the election commission. Let's go across to Ashutosh. Ashutosh जी, ये प्रोटेस्ट क्यों हो रहे हैं, क्या मुद्दा है और क्या कह रहे हैं समाजवादी पार्टी के लोग? उन्हें ईवीएम पे भरोसा अभी से ही खत्म हो गया?
बिल्कुल, इसके पहले भी हमने देखा है कि जब भी इस तरह के जब हुए हैं, जब मतदान हुए हैं, उसके बाद से ईवीएम को लगातार सवाल उठते रहे हैं। एक बार फिर से जब एग्जिट पोल आया है तो एक बार फिर से ईवीएम पर सवाल उठने लगे। आज दोपहर का ये मसला है, 12:30 बजे के आसपास ईवीएम से लगी 3 जो मशीनें हैं, जो 3 पिकअप वैन थे, वो ट्रेनिंग के लिए, जैसा कि जिला प्रशासन ये कह रहा है कि उसे बाहर भेजा जा रहा था ताकि जो मतदाता जो ट्रेनिंग के जो कर्मचारी हैं वो ट्रेनिंग कर सके। इसके बाद जब समाजवादी पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं ने उन तीनों पिकअप वैन को रोक लिया और उनके एक जो ईवीएम थे उसको निकालना शुरू कर दिया। समाजवादी पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं का ये आरोप है कि उस ईवीएम के साथ छेड़छाड़ की जा रही है, ईवीएम बदले जा रहे हैं और अब वो स्ट्रांग रूम के बाहर जो पहरिया मंडी में स्थित है वहां पर अब धरना प्रदर्शन शुरू हो चुका है। आप मेरे चारों तरफ देख सकते हैं कि सुरक्षा कर्मियों के साथ साथ जो समाजवादी पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता हैं उन्होंने हम उन्हीं से जानना चाहते हैं कि किस तरीके का उनका क्या आप लोगों का क्या आरोप है? क्यों सर, हम लोगों का आरोप यह है कि वाराणसी जिले का जो डीएम है वो एक नंबर का फ्रॉड और चोर आदमी है। अगर वह नहीं चाहता सर यहाँ पर ऐसी घटनाएं नहीं होती। ये पूरे प्रदेश में जिस तरह से वाराणसी नहीं उत्तर प्रदेश के सारे जिले में घटनाएं हो रही हैं और
प्रधानमंत्री जी कहते हैं हम चौकीदार हैं, चौकीदार के घर में चोरी हो रही है, यहाँ के प्रधानमंत्री हैं।
हालांकि वो डीएम साहब तो ये कह रहे हैं कि उनको ट्रेनिंग के लिए भेजा जा रहा है।
ऐसा कोई मामला नहीं है, ऐसा कोई मामला नहीं। मामला यह है
आप लोग आराम से
और वो दलाली का काम कर रहा है। अगर ऐसा मामला नहीं होता तो ऐसी घटनाएं यहाँ पर नहीं होती।
जी आप देख सकते हैं कि किस तरीके से यहाँ पर समाजवादी पार्टी के जो कार्यकर्ता हैं वो बेहद गुस्से में है और पूरे ईवीएम जो स्ट्रांग रूम है उसको घेर लिया गया है। और यहाँ पर अब से कुछ देर पहले यहाँ के डीएम ने जो पार्टी के जो वर्कर्स हैं, जो वरिष्ठ नेता है, उनके साथ उन्होंने आश्वासन दिया है।
आशुतोष जी, यहाँ आक्रोश इतना ज्यादा है, आप अपना ध्यान रख लीजिए क्योंकि डीएम नहीं मिलेंगे इन्हें तो आपके पीछे ना पड़ जाएं। आशुतोष जी, मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट कर रही हूँ, आप साइड में चले जाएं। ये these are becoming now violent protests in Varanasi where handling of the EVMs is being protested against. That's the big breaking news coming in from Varanasi. So ahead of counting day, already Akhilesh Yadav pointing towards EVMs having a problem. On the other hand, there are all of those protesters outside the stronghold in Varanasi protesting against the handling of the EVMs and the fairness of the counting process. Well, the legitimate question on the NewsHour tonight is very clearly, is the MY, Modi Yogi factor, the new M+Y, the Muslim Yadav factor being defeated for Akhilesh, and is that why the EVM ka bahana has already begun? That's the question and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the NewsHour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Joining me tonight, GVL Narasimha Rao, Member of Parliament and National Spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Also joining me tonight is Lokesh Jindal, Leader of the Congress Party. But my first question goes to Raghuvendra Dubey, Leader of the Samajwadi Party. दुबे जी, ये इतना आक्रोश क्यों है लोगों में? अभी तो चुनाव की रिजल्ट की काउंटिंग भी नहीं शुरू हुई और 24 घंटे चुनाव खत्म होने के बाद अब सडनली आपको ईवीएम में प्रॉब्लम नजर आ रही है। अगर प्रॉब्लम नजर आ रही थी तो पहले बोलते, सारे चुनाव खत्म होने के बाद क्यों बोल रहे हैं?
आपसे मैं यही अनुरोध करना चाहता हूं। आपने कहा कि ईवीएम का बहाना है। जब कार्यकर्ताओं ने पकड़ी है ईवीएम, जिस तरीके से अवैध तरीके से जा रही हैं ईवीएम, किस तरीके जा रहे हैं और वो स्ट्रांग रूम में ले जाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, डीएम ने उसको क्लैरिफाई नहीं किया है और जो इलेक्शन कमीशन है वो तो मुखदर्शक बना ही हुआ है। तो ये कहना कि ये बहाना, ये हमारा कर्तव्य है कि हम उसकी रक्षा करें। जिस तरीके से बीजेपी वालों को लगता है कि वो हेरा फेरी करना चाहते हैं, तो अखिलेश यादव जी ने भी, यही हमारे राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष जी ने निर्देश दिया सभी कार्यकर्ताओं को कि आप उनकी रक्षा सुरक्षा करें जब तक ये गिनती पूरी नहीं हो जाती है। तो ये जो उन्होंने किया है तो ये अच्छा किया और इनको जवाब देना चाहिए कि किस तरीके से ये क्या करना चाह रहे हैं, क्या हेरा फेरी करना चाह रहे हैं। जनता का मत है और हम निश्चित रूप से बताना चाह रहे हैं कि हम, जनता ने समाजवादी पार्टी को वोट दिया और समाजवादी पार्टी सरकार बनाने जा रही है। ये जो आपके एग्जिट पोल हैं और बहुत सारे हैं, वो सारे धरे रह जाएंगे, ये ढोल के पोल साबित होंगे।
मैं GVL Narasimha Rao, I want to ask you this question. Today there was a case that was heard in the Supreme Court on the VVPAT counting. The Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of India, refused to get into the entire, controversy just a day before the counting of votes. And now these protests in Varanasi. Is this the BJP getting desperate? Because Varanasi, the BJP was on the back foot, at least in the Varanasi South seat. Is it as Akhilesh Yadav and his party are claiming, or is this the Samajwadi Party already making grounds for what the exit polls have already predicted, a not so great result for the Samajwadi Party?
Navika, good evening to you and all the viewers of Times Now. It's very, very evident after the unanimous finding of all the exit polls that BJP's return to power in Uttar Pradesh is certain. We've been tracking the state our election outcome for several months. I think over the past few months, the support in favor of BJP has only grown bigger and bigger. Today, I think the statements of Mr. Akhilesh Yadav, he also stated in a press conference that this is the last battle, democratic battle. I don't know what he meant. He said there will be revolution in Uttar Pradesh if the Samajwadi Party does not win. So if he's thinking of adopting any lawless means to really avenge their defeat in Uttar Pradesh, I think Yogi government, Yogi ji will come down very heavily on them. So I think if Akhilesh Yadav is watching Times Now, or whoever is watching, please do convey to Mr. Akhilesh Yadav to not to resort to any kind of even statements to encouraging abetting people to indulge in violence, because we have a track record. Yogi government has a track record of not overlooking any such activities, number one. Number two, you see, VVPAT has become a reality only because of many of us. In the BJP, I championed even the paper trail concept. Earlier, the EVMs did not even have a physical vote printed. Today, every vote that is cast in elections is stored in the VVPAT boxes, and that becomes evidence forever. And if anybody wants a recount or a count of VVPAT to be done, it is being done on a sample basis. And the Honorable Supreme Court also supported that decision of the Election Commission of India, and they held discussions with all political parties, and there was a broad consensus. But if any individual, any candidate wants counting of all the ballots in a particular constituency, they can certainly seek a direction from the court. Today, VVPAT enables you to give 100% proof of voting in every assembly constituency, and every voter's slip is stored for verification for a very long time.
Well, so let me ask Lokesh Jindal of the Congress Party. Lokesh Jindal ji, ये थोड़ा late in the day नहीं है to begin to protest against EVMs. Whenever the BJP seems to be smelling victory, sensing victory, or even wins a state, there are problems with the EVM. And when they lose in Bengal, in Rajasthan, then the EVMs are all right. Is this now a tried and tested bahana of the opposition? I want to ask you this, because nobody can ever get into the analysis. We are talking about who's voted which way. Is the MY formula, the Muslim Yadav formula, on its way out? Is the Modi Yogi formula what UP is really seeming to win on, because that's what all exit polls show? I want to ask you, Lokesh Jindal, in the middle of all of this, there is all these protests on the EVMs. Now, is this once too often that this has begun to happen?
Yes, good evening, Navika. First of all, I won't be commenting anything upon Election Commission of India and its integrity. What I would like to highlight over here is the manner in which the exit polls have been presenting a false picture of BJP coming out clean in these polls as well. Now, if we consider the 2017 elections, the BJP had more than 100 candidates of OBC, which had brought it to this 300 plus figure. And we talk about this particular election. You look at Rajbhar and you Swami Prasad Maurya and Dara Singh Chauhan leaving BJP, and there were farm protests taking place. BJP was not having its strong base amongst the Jats, was not having a strong base amongst the Muslims, was not having a strong base amongst the OBC. I don't understand on what basis are these polls predicting that the BJP is again going to get the same numbers as those of 2017. What has happened in Uttar Pradesh is even the masses, they are restless of this rule of BJP and they want it gone. And that is one of the major reasons they are scared with this poll survey predicting that BJP is coming back to power. And perhaps that's the anxiety that is being reflected by criticizing EVMs as well as Election Commission of India.
Do you think the Congress has a chance? Do you think the Congress is winning? Or are you saying this because you want the Samajwadi Party, with whom you did not contest? You had no alliance with the Samajwadi Party, but you want Samajwadi Party to win. Where do you stand?
Yes. See, first of all, Congress has come up with a very progressive agenda. Ladki hu lad sakti hu. It talks about women empowerment. It talks about, in fact, today is International Women's Day.
2003, 4, 5, 250, 300, 350, कितनी सीटें आ रही हैं कांग्रेस को?
We are hopeful that Congress would be performing very well in these elections.
Are you forming the government?
And it will be playing an important role in formation of the government as well.
Okay, so you are also expecting Samajwadi Party to fall short. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, you know, converse of what Mr. Lokesh Jindal is saying is that Samajwadi Party is no way going to reach the halfway mark.
Good evening, Navika, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. No, look at the silver lining, of course, in the cloud is, Navika, that the one party that is not complaining of EVM tampering is the Congress. इनके लोग कह रहे होंगे अरे भाई जब नोटा से कम वोट पड़े हों तो टैंपरिंग करने में भी गजब बेइज्जती है. As the Three Idiots meme goes, you know, three people are looking at the exam results, वो कह रहा है नीचे से देख नीचे से. But to come back to this elections, you know, this kind of EVM bogey that we see every time a party thinks it's going to lose. Every time. And I bet you, if the elections were held using a paper ballot, Akhilesh Yadav would even blame the quality of the paper on which people put their tick marks to vote. What is going on? Please, you must realize that nowadays the voter is very clever. The voter votes on the basis of what he gets. And I am including BJP out here. The voter voted out Atal Bihari Vajpayee, even though there was tremendous development that happened during the Vajpayee years, because the voter said, मुझे कुछ नहीं मिला. आप देश को दे रहे हैं. 15 साल आप कह रहे हैं मैं एयरपोर्ट बनाऊंगा, मैं हाईवेज बनाऊंगा, मैं पोर्ट्स बनाऊंगा, लेकिन मेरे घर में कुछ नहीं आया. इससे बीजेपी सीखी है. अब जितनी डेवलपमेंट है वो डायरेक्टली घर पहुंचती है. टॉयलेट घर पहुंचता है, 15 साल बाद नहीं मिलता. सिलेंडर घर पहुंचता है, 15 साल बाद नहीं मिलता. टैप वाटर घर पहुंचता है, और अब तो घर मिल रहे हैं. तो प्लीज ऑपोजिशन पार्टीज को ये समझना चाहिए कि बीजेपी अगर जीत रही है तो वो डेवलपमेंट भी जीत रही है। और नंबर 2, नाविका, आपने एम और वाई की बात करी। मैं एक पेजोरेटिव जो पहले यूज होता आया 20 साल से बीजेपी के लिए कि बीजेपी एक बनिया ब्राह्मण पार्टी है, मैं उसमें एक और बी ऐड करना चाहता हूं, बहुजन। सारा मायावती जी का जितना वोट बैंक है, अगर आप उसमें वोट बैंक के बारे में बात करें, वो सारा अब बीजेपी को चला गया है। तो इट इज अ ट्रिपल बी, बनिया ब्राह्मण बहुजन पार्टी। दैट इज व्हाई दे आर विनिंग। The opposition has to realize this.
दुबे जी, मैं पूछना चाहती हूं, गरीबों ने, क्योंकि अगर आप देखें तो ग्रामीण इलाकों में बीजेपी का वोट अपने वोट शेयर से ज्यादा है, ग्रामीण इलाकों में महिलाओं का वोट ज्यादा मिला है, और लोग कह रहे हैं जो लाभार्थी हैं, लाभार्थी तक बहुत योजनाएं पहुंची हैं। अब इसके बीच में ईवीएम की क्या गलती है दुबे जी, ये तो समझा दीजिए।
देखिए, अभी पहले तो आपकी एक इस बात पे करें, आप बहुत बार इस पर टिप्पणी कर गई हैं कि ईवीएम पे अगर मतलब क्या चोरी करना दें, मतलब जो लोग चोरी कर रहे हैं उनको हमारे कार्यकर्ता पकड़े नहीं, इन चोरों को पकड़ा है। आपको तो इनका पड़ताल करनी चाहिए, अपने चैनल के माध्यम से पड़ताल करानी चाहिए। आप तो एक तरफा आपने निर्णय दे दिया कि हम ईवीएम पे दोष लगाना, हम ईवीएम पे दोष नहीं लगा रहे, हम उन अधिकारियों पे दोष लगा रहे हैं जो चाटुकार हैं, जो गलत करना चाहते हैं। हमारे कार्यकर्ता वो तो सजग हैं, जो उन्होंने उनको पकड़ लिया। इस तरीके से कहीं ले जाए तो कोई सूचना है किसी को, किस तरीके से आप कहां क्या ले जा रहे हैं और क्यों छुपा के ले जा रहे हैं, तो ये एक सूचना है, सूचना बता रहे हैं, तो ये अच्छी बात है, इनकी जांच होनी चाहिए। इलेक्शन कमीशन जो अभी केंद्रीय चुनाव आयोग है, केचुआ जिसको कहते हैं, वो मौन रहता है। जब चुनाव के दिन कभी योगी जी का कभी मोदी जी का इंटरव्यू चलता है तो चुनाव आयोग कुछ कहता नहीं है। तो ये चुनाव आयोग की स्थिति है। और जहां तक बात रही है कि योगी जी ने बहुत कुछ दिया है, आपने देखा कि छोटा पशुओं ने किस तरीके से फसलों को बर्बाद किया। पूरे उत्तर प्रदेश में किसानों को 5 किलो गेहूं देकर के उनको कई कुंटल अनाज, जो उनकी आजीविका का साधन है, उसको आप खत्म कर रहे हैं और 5 किलो अनाज दे दें, तो ये कौन सा विकास हो रहा है? शौचालय आपने देखे, गांव के शौचालय की पड़ताल तो की होगी, बहुत सारे मीडिया वालों ने, अब तो कोई पड़ताल भी नहीं करने जाता है कि जिसमें ऊपर छत नहीं है, जहाँ पानी नहीं है, जहाँ टॉयलेट नहीं रखी, ऊपर से एक ढांचा सा बनाया, उसमें पैसा खाया गया और खत्म गया। बहुत बड़ा घोटाला है ये शौचालय का भी, और किन किन लोगों को मिल गया।
पर
मकान में आपने देखा होगा कि
कैंपेन के दौरान की बातें हैं ना दुबे जी। अब कैंपेन तो हो गया खत्म, चुनाव हो गए खत्म, वोट सारे अंदर हैं ईवीएम के। अब आप ये मुद्दे उठा रहे हैं, अगर आपको ईवीएम पर भरोसा नहीं था तो पहले ही बताते। जीवीएल नरसिम्हा राव जी,
हम तो एक चीज और कह रहे हैं। अब आप
10 सेकेंड
एक चीज और जोड़ना चाहते हैं, फिर इसके बाद नरसिम्हा राव जी बोले। मैं एक चीज और जोड़ना था, आपके ही चैनल ने दिखाया था कल 36.6% जो लोग हैं, युवा हैं, वो रोजगार के ऊपर उन्होंने वोट दिया। दूसरी चीज आपने बताई कि शहरी क्षेत्र में सपा को ज्यादा वोट मिला और ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में इसको बीजेपी को ज्यादा वोट मिला। तो मैं तो ये कह रहा हूं कि उल्टा कैसा, अगर हमें शहरी क्षेत्र में ज्यादा वोट बीजेपी से मिलने लगेगा तो बीजेपी का तो फिर तो 10 तारीख को सुपड़ा साफ हो जाएगा।
मैं पूछना चाहती हूं,
अगर आपका ये आंकड़ा ले लें तो बीजेपी का सुपड़ा साफ हो जाएगा।
और sources in the election commission are telling us, and GVL Narasimha Rao, I want to ask you, the EVMs that have been caught or so-called caught by the Samajwadi party, which is protesting outside in Varanasi, have been caught because these were the training EVMs, and yes, people who are going to do the counting, they were being given last-minute training because day after tomorrow is counting day, and the DM has given a statement of that kind. Why is the Samajwadi party not being able to accept this? Is it because that somewhere the Samajwadi party feels that the exit polls, because abhi result to aaye nahi hai, that exit polls haven't done justice, or exit polls, all of them being in one direction, is giving them the jitters?
Certainly, not just the exit polls, Navika. I think a party like Samajwadi Party certainly has its ears to the ground. They know what the buzz on the ground. They know what is this election all about. It's an unusual election. This from 2014 onwards, you compare elections in the pre-2014 era and post-2014 period. Today, the elections are the caste-based voting, which is what parties like Samajwadi Party, the Bahujan Samaj Party, which what they relied on, the caste formulas, have actually been shattered. The Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas are not just a narrative. That's actually a development formula of Honorable Prime Minister has actually removed all these artificial caste barriers. It is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas leading to Sabka Vote, Sabka Samarthan. Please understand it. It's not, these are not normal elections. If you depend on only, I will add M plus Y and that will give me a substantial number to get past the electoral post, it is not going to work today. The BJP support cuts across all social strata. Because we have actually erased all these social barriers by delivering development to everyone. I challenge everyone. I think anyone who is watching your program, I challenge anybody. Can you tell me one program or one decision of Yogi Ji's government or Narendra Modi Ji's government at the center which has discriminated against any caste or community? You cannot. I can challenge anyone. We have delivered development to every group, including Muslims, including Yadavs, including every community, which may have been serving as vote banks for other rival political parties. But when it comes to development, Narendra Modi Ji's formula, his developmental paradigm is very, very clear. We will deliver development to every citizen of this country, and that is responsible for huge...
Let me ask Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, when I travelled in Uttar Pradesh, there was a constant conversation amongst the BJP backroom boys, as you may call them. And the backroom boys were discussing that minimum of 20% vote in the entire universe, because the BJP expected to be in the region of about 40%. So 20% vote should be taken away by BSP, Congress and others. If that formula works, then the remaining 40%, because 40% goes to the BJP, 20% to BSP, Congress and others, that is 60% of the vote on one side. The remaining 40%, Akhilesh Yadav would have to score % of that 40% to be able to come up to the level of the BJP. So it was this very crucial 20% that was the formula of the BJP. And number two, the point that they were looking very closely at is the division of the Muslim vote. And this time, Owaisi's entry into the arena may have caused the damage to the Samajwadi Party. Even if it doesn't convert into seats, the fact is the vote of the Muslims, as the numbers have shown us, clearly show, has been divided between the BSP, the Congress and the others, which includes parties like Owaisi's party. Do you think these two factors is something that Akhilesh may have overlooked?
I think you're quite right on one factor, which I'll elaborate on in a minute, Navika. Just a couple of points. I don't think the Muslim vote has been divided. The Muslims have traditionally, especially in Uttar Pradesh, voted very tactically and, almost to crossing all the dots and, the T's, they have voted against the BJP. So I don't think that is a factor. The important factor is, as many have started to say, that the BJP repealed the farm laws not because of Punjab, but because of Western Uttar Pradesh. And I think if you look at the way the voting has happened in those regions where it has the Jat stronghold and the sugarcane belt, I think the repealing of the farm laws has actually helped the BJP. So I think one of the two things, you are right there, but not the other one. But overwhelmingly, Navika, you have to accept the fact that it is development. And I know Dubey ji, जो समाजवादी पार्टी के स्पोक्सपर्सन है, वो इस बात का जवाब नहीं देंगे जो उन्होंने कहा कि देखिए कुछ प्रोग्रेस नहीं हुआ है। मैं उनसे एक छोटा सवाल पूछना चाहता था कि जब अखिलेश यादव जी ने गद्दी छोड़ी थी 2017 में, तब यूपी का जीडीपी पर कैपिटा 47,000 था। आज अगर ये बता दें कि आज कितना है, पर ये नहीं बताएंगे क्योंकि वो 61,000 है, मैंने खुद ही बता दिया। बट फाइनली जाते जाते नाविका, you know, as they say, I don't want to be a party pooper for Mr. Rao, but between the cup and the lip, there is many a slip, and I'm sure all of you remember this, the Newsweek cover 6 hours before the 2016 US elections, where they had already declared Hillary as Madam President. So let us hold our horses and see what actually transpires on 10th of March.
तो आप कह रहे हैं MY factor of the BJP can still slip? Are you saying that? Stick your neck out?
Yes, yes.
You're saying they may not make a majority, Dr. Anand Ranganathan?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we need to hold our horses. I am very confident that Yogi Adityanath is going to win on the flank of development.
Horses तो है नहीं, खैर उत्तर प्रदेश में काउस की ज्यादा चिंता थी और छुट्टे कैटल की बात होती रहती थी. But Lokesh Jindal, I want to come to you and I want to ask you, do you think somewhere or the other, the fact is that the opposition, the anti-BJP vote was split? दोनों लड़के साथ राहुल और अखिलेश नहीं जीत पाए पिछली बार. अब इस बार दोनों लड़के अलग, बल्कि एक लड़का तो गया भी नहीं, लड़की ही गई. प्रियंका गांधी जी गई वहां पर और अखिलेश के साथ लड़ी नहीं. और उसके अलावा मायावती भी अलग, कांग्रेस पार्टी भी अलग और बाकी छोटी पार्टीज ओवैसी वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह, ये सारे जो अलग लड़े, क्या एंटी बीजेपी वोट जो है वो स्प्लिट हो गया? और क्या यही कारण है कि बीजेपी को फिर से विपक्ष दे नहीं पाया कोई भी चुनौती?
First of all, Navika, what I hear from all this are mere empty rhetorics from ivory towers. Let me tell you, at the grassroots reality, neither of the communities or castes, they vote as a monolithic community. It is a misnomer to us that Muslims, together comprising of 19% population, they come together and they vote for one political party. Or what he said about Baniya, Brahmin, Bahujan, that is similar to the rhetoric put forth by Mayawati that Hathi nahi Ganesh hai, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh hai. A very political party which used to say, Tilak, Tarazu or Talwar, inko maro jute char. Now all these forms of rhetorics are good to hear, but when we talk about the voters, they are very much motivated. They have their own forms, they have their own considerations while coming to the field. Now, he talked about the GDP, per capita, and also let me remind, there was a promise that was given by BJP to double the farmer's income. And if we talk about 2014, an average farmer income was somewhere around 8,000 rupees. And effectively considering the real-time inflation rate, it should have increased by 22,000 rupees. But the present time is that the farmer's income is increased only till 11,000 rupees. And on top of that, what the Prime Minister comes up with, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Yojana, 500 rupees per month. Now with such form of a policies, how do you, please enlighten me as to why are the farmers going to vote for such a political party?
Well,
now when we talk about the Hathras case, Lakhimpur Kheri, when we are talking about all forms of human rights violation that has occurred.
Well, then clearly Mr. Lokesh Jindal and Mr. Dubey both think that both the parties are getting 300 plus seats on their own. That makes it 600 out of the 403 seats, and the BJP is getting nothing. But GVL Narasimha Rao seems to be smiling. The fact is, and I always say this, कि ये जो public है, ये सब जानती है. And public has made up its mind. The votes are in the EVMs. The factors, I can understand if there were some polls that were showing one direction, other polls that were showing another direction. But this time around, the reason many people have begun to believe that the BJP is at an advantage is because there is not a single poll that has come out into the public, including the Satta market, which is giving the BJP a negative side, less than halfway mark. Well, is that enough to expect an MY, a double engine, Modi-Yogi victory? We don't know. But when you see these scenes in Varanasi, where there are protests for EVMs which were brought in, and there is a statement that has been made by the DM of Varanasi which clearly states that these are the EVMs that have come in. And if we can take those visuals of Varanasi, these scenes, the DM says that it is a rumor that was started because the EVMs were brought, because tomorrow is the final day, a penultimate day before the result day, where training has to happen. Despite this statement, there are protests. Look at the police that has had to come out, the central paramilitary forces that have been called out to protect this stronghold. And this, many people are saying, is a sure sign of nervousness that the Samajwadi party is feeling on the eve of result day. Well, we'll see what happens on 10th of March, because you'll get the first results here, right here, your destination, Times Now, the Election News headquarters. Thanking my guests on this debate.